Everybody wants to race from like, how fast did we build the page? That's not really what the race is though, because we're building an entire site. And when you build something with components and you build it with BEM and you build it with a scalable, maintainable workflow and a framework like automatic CSS, everything that you do, every step that you take, every piece of progress that you make makes the rest of the project faster and then easier to maintain. You could spend a bunch of time on it and you look up at the clock and you realize I'm not really getting anything done on the rest of this website. That's why you see me doing a scaffolding pass where I do a lot of generalized stuff. Then you come back and do the fine-tuning, detail work, and then at the very end, you kind of put icing on the cake.
All right, y'all, we are back here. As you can see, we brought in the big guns, all right? It is development time, and we only can go so far, but we're just getting started here. We want to get kind of the lay of the land set here. As you can see, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Kevin Geary with us today, as well as Christian Taylor, whose site we're going to bring to life to some degree here. As you know, we had Nick Arce put together this beautiful design for us. We're going to go through the Figma file. We're going to check everything out. Kevin is going to give us the lay of the land and, again, the foundational pieces of ACSS and Etch. We're building this all in here right now. Like This is the new stuff, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Real quick, if you guys don't know who Kevin is, Kevin, I want to kick it over to you just for the maybe 1-2 people in the audience that don't know who you are. Want to give a brief background?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a software company owner. We create Etch, we create automatic CSS, we create frames, web design educator. We have an inner circle for agency owners and freelancers who get to learn all about growing and scaling their agency. And that's it. Yeah, I'm just known for creating crazy videos and live streams on web design.
Sweet.
Ranting and raving about
Hell
it.
yeah. Hell yeah. Well, we appreciate it. And thank you for being here. So as we did a lot of design work and everything like that, but now we're at this is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, in this series where we have to actually start developing some stuff. So what we have here is on screen, Kevin has the Figma that we got from Nick and we worked on for the past couple episodes. And then he also has obviously access to the website here with Etch and ACSS and everything like that loaded on there. So I think the best way to kind of go about this is we're just going to pepper Kevin with questions. And we're just gonna ask him a bunch of kind of stuff at the beginning here where, again, the concept of this series is agency grade builds. So it's like when you get to this spot, like how do you take a design from a designer that was either on your team or outsourced, and we were having some chats offline before we hit record. There's some things in this design that are not going to be like easy. So if you're looking at a homepage design like this, you got to spot some of the challenges and then kind of think about that before you dive into your builder of choice, in this case, Etch, right? So we started talking about it, Kevin. You want to kind of just kick us off there on a couple of things that you're thinking as you look at this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first thing I look for when I check these Figma files out, I think a lot of people would analyze like, what's the spacing, what's the this, what's the that, and start to set up typography sizes and so. And really, what I'm looking for is common patterns of things. Like for example, I'm very drawn to these cards because cards are a very typical way of displaying content. But there's some subtle differences here. And so I'm looking at what are the similarities in the cards. Obviously, these are two different cards right here. And I'll zoom in a little bit so that we can see. I'm trying to start to think about how to name these things. Like I would maybe call this a profile card. I'm going to bounce these things off you guys as well, because whoever's going to be working in the site or continuing the development, the names are going to need to make sense to those people as well. But this card is very, very, very similar to this card. It has a lot of the similar colors and spacing and overall design, but it's clearly for a different purpose, and it has some different elements, category badges here instead of recommendation badges here, we could call them, or something like that, right? So these are going to be different cards, but they do share a lot of styling. And anytime I see this repeated sharing of styling, here we go again. We have more cards here. This is like a bento grid, very similar, but still some differences as well. I'm starting to think about employing the card framework so that all of these things can easily be made consistent. I'm starting to look at how the colors are being used. I'm starting to look at some of the accent designs, like, for example, this border that goes around kind of like the inner of this hero section is like an accent design, and how we're going to connect that to the section below. Because this, I always, I perk up a little bit when two separate things rely on each other, right? Like this section right here, this videos section, relies on its relationship to the hero section to make this connection. And I'm starting to think like, is that going to be a common pattern? I don't think we have access yet to any subpages, but I'm wondering if that hero is going to be used on subpages and it's going to have the same connection line. If you notice, like that line is not used anywhere else down the page, but it is used when there's this style hero and then what we would call the adjacent sibling section, right? So I'm thinking of ways to maybe engineer this so it's programmatic. So anytime you add a section next to this one, it automatically connects the badge from one to the other without you having to do anything. It's problems like that I'm starting to think about solving. I'm looking to see how they use colors. I think this one, in terms of colors, and Nick does a good job of this, is very obvious. This background, there is a little philosophy here that we should talk about. This is a very neutral color. And obviously we're using automatic CSS. There's a palette system and we have to set up that palette. There is a neutral color in automatic CSS, but I'm a big fan of, even when what I call the base color, this would be the base color, is neutral, you should use base. You should not use neutral. And this is kind of just speaks to the ability and the flexibility to retheme things in the future. Because if you use neutral, you are stuck in the neutral palette, because if you change the color, now it's not neutral anymore. It doesn't really make sense to the name. I like to preserve neutral so that it is always grays, white and black. And then for this, I would use base, because if we decide at some point that the base doesn't need to inherit a little bit of the primary color or something, we want to shift the hue of it just a little bit, it makes sense. Regardless of what we want to do with it, the word base is base. Like, this is the base of the site. It's always going to make sense regardless of what we do with it. So I'm thinking about things like that, how to apply the color. And then the spacing, the typography, that stuff is just kind of it's going to handle itself via ACSS. Not going to be a big deal. So when you look at this, Mark or Christian, what questions do you guys have about tackling this?
You got any, Christian?
Yeah, I mean, mine are perhaps very basic. I'm sure they're basic because my background here is Elementor, and I've never worked with a designer. I've done stuff very manually, the dumb way. So what scares me is all the spacing, and it sounds like that's the easy part. But my brain goes, oh, how are we going to get the proportions right? How do we really translate this? Even nuanced stuff like that very subtle purple drop shadow on the second row of cards under the photos. I don't know. That all just kind of spooks me. Yep.
Where's this purple shadow? I'm not even seeing a purple shadow.
I think it's a shadow. It's right under the thumbnail, kind of behind the category tags.
Yeah. That's light work, Christian. We got that handled. Don't worry about it, buddy.
Sweet.
That's light work.
Yeah. I think for me on my end, I mean, after having experience with ACSS, those things start to come naturally because, Kevin and the team pretty much thought about all that, and you just change some numbers if you need to tweak it. The things for me that stand out are, again, kind of the stuff that, Kevin, you were talking about. Like, I have no idea how to make, I don't know if those lines are done with Pseudo-Elements, because
you talking about these again?
Yeah, because I feel like if you were trying to do this in, era 3 page builder or something, or just with a different philosophy, you would try to be like, oh, is that like an image? Do I need to make a physical thing, or do I need to make a border? But then when you get to this middle of the section situation, it's like, how am I going to make that? What do I do? Make a grid and put a little bit of a border in the middle? But that's not how you do any of that. I think is it all pseudo-elements?
I mean, when I look at it, my brain immediately goes to pseudo-element, because if I don't think I can edit this. Maybe I can. No, I don't think I have permissions to edit it. But if we could delete it, if you could just imagine it not being there, all we're looking at is a very typical, clean hero section. And I think a lot of people have, these lines can be created 3 different ways or 4 different ways. So one would be, you have a container and you try to put a border on it. The problem with that is it needs to extend up beyond, and you can even say this is how designers cheat. You see this like goes outside of the boundary of this and doesn't really need to be on the thing. They actually, Nick actually used the design version of like a pseudo element, essentially. Okay. But designers will often use two different elements that run into each other. That actually might be what he did here. Two different elements that run into each other to look like one element, right? And sometimes these things don't exactly translate into dev. But I think a lot of people would think, okay, we need some sort of container with like a border that could apply that effect, or it could be done with box shadow, or it could be done with outline. Like there's a lot of different ways to do it. But for me, I would want it to be independent of any of the content or the section itself. And it's simply applied as pseudo elements. And then we're going to have a pseudo element attached to this badge. And in CSS, you can select adjacent siblings, right? So if I can select any section that comes after this hero section, and I can identify the badge that, because this intro is going to be a component, probably is going to be, you see it here. So this intro and this intro are exactly the same except for their alignment. One is centered, one is left. So when I look at this, I know we have an intro component. The default is probably going to be centered, and then we're going to have a variation of it where we can just choose for it to be left aligned. And I would say, like, my brain says, hey, we should try to make this programmatic to where anytime we have a section that comes right after this hero, we're automatically adding that little connector line. And that connector line, to me, needs to come from this badge up to meet the other pseudo element here, rather than trying to come from this pseudo element down. Because then at that point, one, we don't know what the spacing is in this section. You're going to have to know what the spacing is, I think, to make that line the correct length. And two, we need to make sure that that has a badge there for it to even connect to, So it's going to have to be dependent on a few different things happening if we want to make it programmatic. But that's where the creativity and the dev part of it comes in.
Gotcha. And with this grid here, I know you said that the bento grid here towards the bottom, my favorite digital products.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of like, I don't know what you call that, just like custom work there. I feel like because they're not exactly all the same heights. So is that actually difficult, or what's that actually look like?
It's really it's hard to tell until you start building it. It's a little worrisome that the rows are cut differently here. There's going to be a lot going on with spans and things like that until we actually get in there and start to try to build it. I mean, it's one of those things where that's less of a concern because we can cross that bridge literally anytime. What the bulk of the work is going to be creating these cards, making sure they're components, making sure they have the right variations, making sure they're named properly, they got good BIM classes on them, so that we have good control over how they're displaying. I'm going to use container queries so that this automatically goes from a stacked layout to a wide layout when it has more space to expand. Those are the big things that we want to make sure that we get right. And then the grid we're displaying them in, whether it's a normal grid or a bento grid, that's a very, very solvable problem at any point in time.
Gotcha. Okay. I got one more question that is kind of just like higher, like kind of, again, the transition between design and development, but something that we started thinking about with Nick, but we don't fully have the answer to. So if you're a designer and you're using Etch and ACSS and frames and all these different tools in Figma, you have currently, and I think it's being relaunched as well, frames for Figma. Now that's something that we tried using, and I think that's actually in this Figma file. I think that's where it kind of all started from.
Yep.
But just at a high level, either what's available now or what's soon to be available there is the concept that you can build in Figma in a similar tokenized way that you would in a builder, and then just be able to kind of port things over like easily. What's the vision there? What's coming? Because I don't know if we're exactly set up for that right now, but like what's the thought process there?
Yeah. So the idea is that we have automatic CSS to help us with our development process, consistency, scalability, maintainability. You don't have anything like that inside of Figma. You can obviously create tokens. Now, tokens in Figma came well after tokens in CSS, right? Figma's playing catch up in a lot of ways. So we had to work with what we had available to us at the time. And the first version of automatic CSS for Figma, which is called Tokens for Figma, is a very manual kind of library. And we created the whole frames library where it uses all of these tokens. And essentially, when you go to the dev part, it's manual because you look at what was used and then you set it up manually in automatic CSS and you use the same things. And then it'll be very consistent. But it is very manual because Figma had a lot of limitations, honestly. We're about to release the next version of tokens for ACSS tokens for Figma, which literally is, if people are familiar with, I'll go into Etch here. So if you guys are familiar with this, when you go into Figma with this new version, it's going to look exactly like this. And you set it up exactly the same way. You use it exactly the same way. And it translates directly into native Figma tokens, no longer requiring a separate plugin called Token Studio, which was kind of like a bridge plugin to overcome a lot of the limitations that Figma had at the time. So that is completely out of the picture. The workflow is an exact mirror of ACSS. And then probably the best part of it is it has one-click export. So everything, when somebody like Nick goes in and does this great design and sets up all the colors and all the spacing and all the everything using ACSS tokens for Figma, you as the dev go in, you click one button, export, you go into automatic CSS in your dev environment, you paste the JSON, you hit import, and every setting that Nick set up is in Figma is now set up in your dev environment, and it's magical. So that process is about to completely transform people's workflow from Figma to dev.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll have to try that on the next website that we build because that sounds sick. Because it's going to take a lot of the manual labor, I feel like, out of that. So
absolutely, yeah,
awesome, love it. Okay, well, Christian, any other thoughts before we dive in?
My last question would be: have you looked at the animation on the homepage in the the preview play mode? What are your thoughts there?
I was trying to right before the call.
I don't know if it actually plays.
I think it's just a sticky
Yeah, but
kind of a.
Do you know the concept though? Like it just.
I think the concept is probably that it fills the color in as you scroll down. Yeah. So that kind of stuff, my process is very scaffolding first. So you get a lot of bulk, just general work done, get everything going in the right direction. Then you come back and do the fine tuning, detail work. And then at the very end, you kind of put icing on the cake. And that's one of those features that's, if this paragraph exists, and is it also supposed to be sticky as it does that? Do you know? Because there's a lot of space here.
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
Okay. We'll have to double check with Nick on that. The only thing I don't like is, so I'm going to visualize it right now. I am scrolling up and down, but you can't tell. It has, so when there's got all this white space around it, and now you can tell because something else is coming into view, or now you can, now you can tell because something else is coming into view, but there's a no man's land in the middle where you have no idea that I'm scrolling up and down, and it's almost like a slight scroll jacking technique that, does confuse some users. I think it would help if the text was actually filling out the color properly because that might clue you in, and maybe that's what Nick was going for, but we just can't see it in the Figma. Yeah, it might clue you into that you are scrolling, so that might be.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely the desired effect, whether or not, regardless of why it's not in Figma, that's not a big deal. But just real quick on that, is that because you've seen that many times before, on a Webflow site or something, Apple or whatever, is that something, do you consider that effect to be scroll jacking when it's working properly? Okay.
No. I mean, that's what I was going to say. If this is essentially sticky, right?
Yeah.
I'm going down, but the thing is stuck to the screen.
Yeah, that's not ideal right there. Yeah.
Which is not ideal, but, and if you had a scroll bar, it might be because there's some indication that you're scrolling. But now that I'm thinking about it, the text filling in the color is that's what Nick is going for. That's his hey, you're scrolling, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're going to have to see it play out in real life. But it is, from a dev standpoint, if we just look at what's on the screen right now, this is essentially, I would make a component almost. It's we would have to name it. It's like a featured text section of some sort, and we make it a component, and it can be deployed anywhere, which also means that we can literally just deploy it as plain text in the very, very beginning. And then when we get to the icing on the cake stage, because it's a component, doesn't matter how many times we've deployed it, we can edit the component, we can add the icing on the cake, which is the effect of the color filling in the text, and then hit save, and it's going to update literally everywhere we've deployed it. So it's something that can be done at any time. It's not I'll say this, it's one of those problems that you could spend a bunch of time on it, and you look up at the clock and you realize I'm not really getting anything done on the rest of this website. This is why I always try to do the scaffolding and the bulk of everything first. You just get as much surface area covered as possible, and then you start to fill in the gaps and the pieces, and then you put the icing on the cake, and then you launch the site, And I think that's, for me at least, the most efficient way to do it.
Love it. All right. What do you think we dive into Etch then? See what we got.
Let's do it. So I'm on the homepage. I think what a great thing to do would be to just tackle this hero section right here and play around with and experiment, because I haven't built this design before. We're going to have to just see what we might be able to do to get this effect to work properly. But looking at this card, I did have a question. What's the idea here? Because your stack is obviously more than 3 things. So are these supposed to randomly show 3 things? Are these going to be your top 3 things? Is this actually a call to action where we're sending somebody to the My Stack page? Like, what is the purpose of this card other than, hey, I'm Christian Taylor, and it's a unique way to show that?
I think the idea was that they were the top 3 tools in my stack. Thing I'm not sure on, I mean, this is just a decision we'll have to make, is if you click the tool specifically, if we wanted to go to the tool single, or if we just route everything, like all 3 tools plus the My Stack text to the My Stack page. It's kind of a weird no man's land, I think, as far as architecture, because we have the tools archive, but this is something different that we don't have a menu item for. It's maybe a blog post, I don't know, but it's like these are the tools that I personally use regardless of whether they're in the tool archive or not.
Okay.
Yeah. We're definitely going to have to build, Nick, I think the idea there was where it's My Stack, and then I don't know if that's like a pseudo element or whatever, the line, and then like the I guess kind of like an icon. Like when you look at that, Kevin, is that a button to you? I mean, because that's used elsewhere. So like that whole wide thing, if you're a user and you click on My Stack, the line or that icon, is that I mean, because it's elsewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Kind of looks cool, but like, what's the practicality? I'm not sure.
Is it elsewhere exactly like this?
Scroll down.
Yeah, look at the bento cards.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it was up there a little bit in the grid, right there.
You
I mean those though you could just click on the whole card.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that deserves to be its own little mini component, I wouldn't say. It can just be part of these cards.
Okay, well that's a good question then, because if they click on this card at all, it probably goes to your stack. If they click on those tools, does it go there or not? I don't really know if we need to make that decision right now, but because that would be easy to add a link to it, I guess. But
well, my thing too is this is a profile card, which, Christian, as the brand grows, and I think you already have a couple people on your team, right? There could eventually be an about page at some point. Maybe there already is one planned, I don't know, where these cards are used for other team members as well, Yeah. And I would foresee it. We have the ability with a little toggle switch to just say show stack or not show stack, because without the stack, with just this, it's a really nice profile card that's super clean that could be used for anybody. But when it's Christian's card, we hit that toggle and we show the stack on the card. But that's not something we would do for everybody, right? So you have that option as a variation of the card.
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole right now, but what you're bringing up to me though is I do think there's a conversation to be had around where do you draw the line with like the variation of a card? You know what I mean? Like because you could almost have one card for so many different things. It could be like 5 different, and now at that point you're literally it's like you have 5 different containers in there with a bunch of different shit, and it's like, okay, I'm just turning things on and off willy-nilly, but it's all like the same
Yeah, to me, it's a pretty easy question to answer. I mean, we don't have to like dive deep. It's literally if the context of how the card is used is going to change, make it its own component.
Gotcha.
Like for example, we talked about the similarities between a blog post card and this card, but that would not be managed with variations. They would be separate cards.
Gotcha.
Their similarities are managed with the card framework, like from Automatic CSS in the design. But contextually, there are two different things for two different use cases. They should be two different components.
Cool. Makes sense.
So let's go ahead and get a hero section on the page. We're going to call this a main hero. And then we'll also get, these panels set up there. It's really dependent on your preferences as a dev. I do not use the style inputs, so I'm just going to hide those. I don't need JavaScript right now, so I'm going to hide that. And I'm just going to let this be HTML and CSS. I like my structure panel on the right. We got our little elements, attributes, and we are ready to rock and roll. So we're going to call this main hero. We're going to call this inner, and we'll just jump back and forth to kind of see how we visualize this. Like from a scaffolding standpoint, I'm looking at two columns, side-by-side content. We need a content wrapper over here. We're going to ignore these little cute, little mini cards, and we'll build this one in just a second. But right now, I need to be able to put content next to content. So I'll come back in here. This inner is going to have two flex divs in it. So one is going to be the left-hand side. One is going to be the right-hand side. Give them names. This one's going to wrap the content. And then this one's going to be what we'll call a card wrapper. And that's just to signify that in this main hero, we have a card that is over here on the side. And this is the cell, essentially, that it's going to live in. Now looking here, I'm looking at a heading. I'm looking at text. There's no little subheading here. So this is going to be our H1. This is going to be a paragraph. And then we don't even need to worry about that thing right now. So let's just pop in a heading and a paragraph. The other reason we don't want to worry about it is because this is a situation where this card does not belong to this hero. Like it is going to be in this hero, but it doesn't belong to it. It's going to belong to itself. It's going to be its own component, its own thing that we can use anywhere. It just happens to be sitting in this hero right now. So we're building the hero. We don't need to worry about this card. Same thing with this card, but this card is a main part of the hero, so we are going to focus on it first. I'm going to go ahead and put the card wrapper in for it. So this is going to be the we talked about calling this profile card. Does that name make sense to everybody? Does anybody object to that name?
I think it's
No,
solid.
I think that's great.
Okay. So there's our profile card. I'm going to make it an article. Okay. It's just a semantic tag. It essentially means that, which kind of jives with the component logic. An article tag kind of means this thing makes sense to live on its own. Like if I unplugged it from where it is now and just pasted it somewhere else, would it make sense? Would you know what's going on? And the answer is yes. Like we can see that it's a card about Christian Taylor. It's its own separate little piece of content, so it can get an article tag. Next thing we're going to do is put the heading in here. We're going to, really two wrappers. We're going to go content wrapper again. We're going to go media wrapper. That media wrapper is going to be a figure. And we tend to do this backwards. Okay, so we're going to go boom, boom. Content wrapper is going to come first. And then we're going to have our media wrapper. Only reason being, from an accessibility standpoint, you want your heading to be the first thing that a user interacts with in the card. We're going to make that an H3. And then we have our media wrapper, which we need to turn into a figure. And then we are going to drop an image inside of that. And this is just going to say media. I use the word media because is it going to be an image? Is it going to be a video? I don't know. Let's make it work either way. So instead of calling it image wrapper an image, where now contextually we're kind of like it needs to be an image to make sense, media makes sense regardless of what we're going to put in the card. So figure and image is in there. I'm pretty happy with that right now, even though we did have a little, section that we're going to have to talk about at some point. What I'm going to do here is just give these some BIM classes, and we will allow that to copy my clipboard. Okay. So now these have selectors, all right? We can go ahead and style these if we want to. We don't need to yet. I mean, I can also right-click and just say create component. I can save that, and then I can exit. And now we have this little thing called a profile card. This is actually kind of handy because when we auto BIM the rest of this section, I can kind of exclude this for a minute. I can just get rid of it and I can auto BIM, and then I can come down here and I can add that profile card back, and now that profile card is back in action. So this allows me to really only focus on BIMing what I want to BIM, which is the main hero, the inner, the content wrapper, the heading, which we're going to make an H1, and then the paragraph, which we should call, I call them leads, like in journalism. And then we have card wrapper. And then I don't think we need to really BIM anything else in here. So let's just right click. And now we have something called a main hero. Now I'm going to go to the inner, and we are going to display this as a grid. And then we want to make this responsive. The question a lot of people have is, do I make it responsive now? Do I make it responsive later? Do I use media queries? Do I use container queries? That's going to be a conversation for another time. If we have to sit and have too long of a discussion about something, just do whatever is most comfortable for you. We're going to make sure it gets done at some point. So the easiest way to approach this is just to keep going. Just keep making progress. You can come make it responsive at any point in time. So grid template columns, and we're going to do a grid 2. Okay, so now these things are side by side. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop our card in here, and we can start building out our actual card. We're going to do this in the component editor. Okay, so first thing that we're going to do, these are already BIMmed. We're going to come to the media wrapper. We want that to be first. So we're going to say order of -1. That's going to bring that to the top. Now we have our heading in here. We can just put static. Everything's going to be static to start out with. Let's go ahead and check on this. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I know I want this profile card to be part of the card framework. So we're going to go to the front end. I'm going to go to cards, turn on our card framework here, go down to targeting settings. The card framework doesn't do anything to any card until you tell it to. Okay, so that's a good reason why we name cards too. So this profile card is something I want to target with the card framework. So I'm just going to do profile card. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. We'll let that regenerate. And then I'm going to go in, I'm going to save my progress here. And then we'll just see what that applies, which out of the box, you're going to notice it pretty much does like what you would expect a just typical clean, nice card to do. There we go. So it's got padding. It's still light. It has a light, very light, should have a light border on it. We'll check that in just a second. But yeah, this is going to give us the base styling for our cards. Okay, good. Let's check on the design again. So now we're going to have, and Nick used, if we can see the detail here, okay? This is a concentric radius, and the card framework has kind of a one-click like solution for using concentric radius on cards. But just for everybody watching, what that means is this is the normal site radius right here. And it does not look good from a design standpoint if the outer radius uses the same radius as the inner radius. So what actually happens here is we take the inner radius and we add like half of the card padding to it, and that becomes the outer radius. There's some mathematical formula that designers use to do that. But that's essentially what we're doing there. So we'll take a look at that in just a second. But as you can see, the inner radius is already being applied. I just want to see what value he used. 8 pixels. Okay. So from a radius standpoint, we're going to go over and we're going to check some settings here too to see if everything is the way that we want. So these are deprecated. I don't know if this was this a blueprint that you deployed by chance, Mark? Or oh, you had the old version and we upgraded, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to go 8 pixels. This is the new 4.x version, so there's some deprecated stuff we'll go ahead and just clear out. It's very easy. Just make sure. That's why we didn't see the border a second ago, too. Our icon framework on. That's all good. This should all be good here. Border color. Anything that uses a trans color is now switching to color mix, so we just need to reset them. I'm going to palette as well. I'll show everybody how to set up the palette in just a second. Let's go to our color assignments, make sure we're not using anything deprecated. We are there, and everything else looks good. Color relationships is on. While we're here, we can also check our website dimensions. So typically that is the boundary. It's where the content edges line up here. And I'm looking at 1212 as the content width. Doesn't matter if that's 100% accurate because it can be changed at any time. We can double check this container and see if that aligns as well. It's really the inner, which that's not even going to give us. Let's check this right here. Okay, so this is 1280. So there's something going on with the header that's making it a little bit, maybe a little extra padding, but I don't know if you guys can tell, but that left edge doesn't line up with the left edge of there. It looks like 1280 is a standard though, so we'll go with 1280. So we're going to go 1366 down to 1280. We'll go ahead and save that. Breakpoints, not really all that valid anymore. Like we're going to use container queries for most everything. Don't even worry about what the breakpoints are right now. All of this stuff is going to come into play later at some point, but nothing else really needs to be set up here. Even the spacing, section spacing, all the standards, as long as we use the variables correctly, it's all tweakable pretty much at any time. Buttons and links, primaries available. Okay, so we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and go in here. We'll save. We'll see if the border comes in on this card now.
Kevin, I know that you don't use a styling panel, but are the context, the right-click context things in there yet, or no for ACSS?
Not in Etch yet. Not in Etch yet. They will be coming, but they're actually not going to come from ACSS. So Etch is going to have a native context menu, and a framework like Automatic CSS or Tailwind or whatever someone happens to use will actually API itself into the context menu, so that it doesn't matter what you're using, it has access to the context menu.
Cool.
So that'll be nice and flexible. But now you see this card has a nice light border on it. We can start programming in all of the shared styles. Let's go back up here. So now we're going to need YouTuber, 24 years old, California, USA. These are just two little text elements. They appear to be grouped together. So we're going to add a group on the dev side as well. Okay, so we can go in here, edit component inside of our profile card, inside of our content wrapper. Right after our heading, we're going to add a flex div. And this will be, I'll just call this stats. Okay, so we have profile card. We'll call this stats wrapper. Okay, and then inside of there, we're going to go paragraph, or just text. So this will be stat, and this will be stat. And we'll talk about how to use classes here as well in just a second. So profile card, we're going to have our stats wrapper. Okay, here we're going to go profile card and then stat. All right, we're just using our BIM to make sure that we know that these are belonging to this profile card. All right, and then that said YouTuber 24 and then California, USA. Okay, so we've got a stats wrapper here where we want to essentially bring the gap down so that those are very, very close to each other. Again, font sizes, all that stuff we can work out later, not that big of a deal. So this is going to be card gap, probably divide by 2. Good. Okay, it's good enough for right now. Because this is a component, this is the beauty of components. I can literally go deploy this card anywhere else, even though it's not finished. I can finish it pretty much at any time. We're just scaffolding. We're getting as much progress done as we can. So let's put in this text right here. And it looks like we're going to need, this is going to be a span tag. So this is going to be all one heading, but we're going to wrap the word entrepreneurs in a span tag, which is going to allow us to give it this, what we'll call like maybe a highlight effect, maybe highlight text or badge text. We're going to have to figure out what we want to call that. We got the basics in here. That needs to be centered, it looks like. So we're just going to take this content wrapper, justify content to the center. It's going to center that there. And let's just go kind of take a look at what we've got going on the front end. So now this looks like it's just clean and floating around. What gives it visual structure is the thing that we talked about, like the problem that really needs to be solved with this hero section we talked about earlier. So now it's just going to be a process of experimenting with exactly how we want to solve that. So I am going to experiment here. And the question is going to be, do we want to put this pseudo element on the inner, or do we want to put it on the section itself, the main hero itself? And I just don't know off the top of my head which way is best. So what we do in these situations is you just start. You just get something on the page and you start to play with it, and you'll solve the problems as you encounter them, essentially. So what we're going to do is we are going to give this a before pseudo element. We're going to go content, blank, and we're going to go width 500 pixels, height 500 pixels. We're going to go background of red. We're going to go position of absolute. We're going to come in here, position this relative so that catches that. So now I've just got an object on the page, right? Z-index of 1, make sure that that's on top of everything so we can really see what's going on. Okay, now we can start to play with the box. First thing I would say we probably want to do, now there is some spacing stuff like this is not just the bottom of the section, because unless the section doesn't have any bottom padding. But that may be something we want to play with. We don't know yet. But we're going to position the pseudo element on the bottom, and then maybe we'll make a padding adjustment and see if that actually works. I'm also going to come in here and add another section. I want something below this hero section so I can see exactly where this alignment is happening. So if we want to position this on the bottom, we are going to inset block end of 0. And now that's essentially going to touch the bottom of the container. It's centering itself, if we notice, which is very nice. We need the width to be the correct width. Now, if we did a width of content width, which is an automatic CSS variable by default, right? We're going to get the exact content width. Thing is, that is not we don't want to get into a situation where we're trying to use padding inside of here. We really want these accent lines to exist outside the content width, right? So we need to go width of content width, and then we need to add a little. Now, if we add more than the gutter, we're going to run into a situation where we're going to create an overflow on mobile devices. So what I would propose, one, is figure out what our gutter value is. So we can go into automatic CSS, we can go to spacing, go to section spacing, and we have our gutter right here. So it's a fluid size from 80 down to 16. It is a referenceable token called gutter, and we can do math with tokens, which is nice. So I don't actually have to worry about what these values are. I just have to do math with the token. Okay, so I am going to say that this width is going to be content width. And if you did just like plus 1 em, you're going to see exactly what happens. It's going to go half an em over here and half an em over the content width over here. If I did plus gutter, okay, and let's see if it gave us, there we go. So now you can see, hey, I don't know, like that almost looks perfect. And if I do plus gutter, that means it's going to touch the edge of the screen. I think that's okay. It's technically, math-wise, shouldn't create any overflow. But now we've got kind of the start of what we want. Now, what if I wanted to border radius this? We can see there's our radius, but we're looking at maybe the design and seeing, well, all right, that's like way more radius. What did he use here? He used radius L. And I could look at the tokens and find out what his base is, but I could probably 8, what we measured from the other thing. So we'll go here to automatic CSS. We're going to go back to borders. And notice that I go back to ACSS sometimes to change some things. This is because I don't set everything up ahead of time. I don't care to, I don't enjoy it, I don't like to, and you don't have to. You just do what you need to do as you work through it. Okay, so additional radius options, we're gonna say generate extra radius sizes. It's already on. So instead of radius, we're gonna try radius L, and we're gonna see that it in fact works. It's not in alignment with what he was using, so I'm just gonna bump it up to XXL for just a minute so we can get the intended effect. Now we're gonna just figure out what we need to do with the height. Let's go with 100%, and we're gonna see that we go to the top of the section. Unfortunately, if we go to the front end and we imagine, like that works for right now, but what about when our header's there? We're not probably gonna use an overlay header. I didn't see any reason to use an overlay header, it just adds more complication. So this needs to just kind of extend up even more, okay? How much more is the question. We could go up a ton, like we could do 100% plus, or we could do, let's try a percentage, 120%. You see how we don't see the border radius anymore? But the question is like, is 20% enough? Like when we add the header, are we sure that that's gonna clear the header? Well, there is a way that we can be sure that it's gonna clear the header, and that's by using the header height variable, okay? So we're gonna plug in our header height. We're gonna have our, I'm sorry, hold on, we're doing this on, we don't wanna do this on width. We're gonna do this on our height, okay? Calc var content width, that was right, plus gutter, Good. That does that there. Okay, height. So we want 100% plus, and then we're going to do var header height. Height, if we spell that correctly. Let's calc this. Okay. Fantastic. Now, we don't have a header height in here yet, but if I put a value in, we go here, we're going to go to layout, header, and then you have your header height. This is used for automatic content offsets. It's used for a lot of various stuff. But if we put in a value of, say, 200 pixels, which, again, we can change these things at any time, that value or that token now has a value, and that's going to stretch up to the perfect amount, regardless of how high our header is.
Do you
So we're
have
just
to
trying
do you have to manually set that?
You do,
Or-
because the only way to do it automatically that we've found is through JavaScript. JavaScript happens on page load, and then what happens is you're going to have a flash of unstyled content while that calculates and then sets. So yeah, we haven't found an automatic way to do it, but the good thing about a header is that once it's built, you plug in the height of it, and it's not gonna it rarely ever changes. If you do change it, you just go change the value if you change the header height. So it's one of those things that's fairly set and forget. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we have this giant red box on the screen. What if we had a transparent background, but what if we had a border? So we go border, border, right? And now we're gonna go check on the front end. Oh, okay. So now we're starting to get somewhere. Now I'm liking where we're at because I know my header. I know it's always going to be high enough to clear my header. I know that the header is going to fit inside of here because I didn't manipulate any padding or anything. I know we're not going to have an overflow because I only moved this out equal to the amount of our gutter. I feel pretty confident. I feel like we're good to go. The next thing I would try to solve, I feel like I've solved this, at least for now. Until something proves me wrong, we look at responsiveness and all this other stuff, but I feel like we're going to be fairly safe. The thing I would look at next is the potential to marry this programmatically to whatever comes next. So the next thing I would do is build our header component. It's one of the first things that I build on any website. So I'm going to go down and just take a look at this. Remember that this left align one and the center one are exactly the same. I'm going to build the center one first. So essentially we need a heading. That's got to come first. The badge visually comes first, but the heading is the first actual element in the DOM, or needs to be. So we're going to go heading, text. I'm actually going to put the badge last. Okay, heading, text, badge. So this is going to become our section intro. We're going to go heading, text, text. This is going to be our section badge, or you could call it accent badge. I don't know. Everybody likes to call these things different things. This is going to be the, I usually use lead over and over and over for this. We'll have heading, lead, accent badge. Any objections to these names?
I think we're good.
No.
Okay. So let's just BIM that then. So immediately create our selectors. Now what we can do with our section intro is we will text align everything to the center. We will justify our content to the center. We will align our items to the center, which is essentially just everything should be centered. We will take this badge right here and order -1. We'll send that to the top. We'll say this is videos. We'll also look, and I think that needs an icon, doesn't it? Okay, so let's think about this for a second. What we're going to do is right-click wrap in div. This is going to be the accent badge. This is going to be the text. And then we're going to have an icon in here. So I have this class section intro accent badge. I can just remove that from there and apply it from here. Section intro accent badge. Okay. And then now I have text in here and I have the ability to put an icon. So I'm going to go throw an icon in there. All right. So this will be the icon and boom, just like that. Okay. So our accent badge, let's display a flex, get those things side by side, align the items to the center so that they're vertically centered with each other. Let's give a little bit of gap, maybe 0.5 em, something like that. And then let's work on this icon. So this is going to be the, and actually, let's go accent badge. I'm going to change this. So maybe we want to use this anywhere. Accent. Let's just go accent badge. Okay, perfect. That's going to be accent badge.
Let's do something different before you start styling the next thing.
Yep.
So Christian, I don't know how confused you are right now. I mean, I know you're a smart guy and you've dealt with CSS before, but this is a different type of flow the way that Kevin does. So Kevin, just so you can kind of show off like Etch a little bit here, can you turn the styling panel on for a second? Just so like we get the idea that you don't have to do it this way, at least from the beginning, but like it syncs back and forth. So like Kevin's typing all of this stuff in, but it's not like, it is custom CSS technically, but it's not, it's literally putting the shit over there. So if you put, you see that, Christian? That's pretty sick. Nothing else does that. That's amazing. So, you know, if you're more accustomed to that over there, like I have been, then you could do the stuff in the styling panel where you don't have to remember all of like the actual CSS declarations and stuff. And then you can, it'll still have the CSS at the bottom. So I wanted to make a point of that.
I love this. This is incredible. The only thing that scares me is I'm not the most confident with HTML architecture. So like I would have put the accent badge first. Like I never would have thought, oh, the H1 or H whatever it is, heading needs to go first. It makes sense from a bot perspective, SEO, accessibility, all that, but I just never would have thought of that.
Yeah, and really that's aside from Etch, right? That's you could do it however you want. I just when I'm teaching, I try my best to remember, because there's like an endless checklist in your brain as a dev of like all the boxes you have to try to check as you're going through this stuff, which is why, a lot of people stress out and they don't build stuff from scratch at all, because they're like, there's no way I can remember all the checkboxes or check all the checkboxes. And I just try to remind them, like, you don't have to. It's like that's why you see me doing a scaffolding pass where I do a lot of generalized stuff, because I'm going to do another pass later. And when I do another pass later, that might be for design details. Then I might do another pass, which is icing on the cake, like the little animation stuff that we talked about. But then I might do another pass, which is let's check on the semantics of all the stuff that we did. Did we make the list stuff correctly? Did we make the article tags where we need them? Is the heading in the right order, or did the badge come first? And those things can always be fixed later. Now, here's the thing. If you use Elementor, you use Beaver, you use all of these static builders, right? Where you're not really using a component-based workflow. You're not really using a BIM-based workflow. In those situations, you really do have to kind of get it right when you build it, because if you deploy that thing many, many times incorrectly, you're just creating this scenario where anytime you have to fix something, you've got to find every instance of it to fix it, because it doesn't really have that scalable, maintainable architecture. When I'm doing components, like we're doing an intro component right here, the minute I make it a component, I'm no longer worried about any mistake that might get made, because I can fix it at the component level, which then fixes every instance of it. So it's a much safer. It takes longer initially, but like I explain in all my live streams, everybody wants to race from like, how fast did we build the page? That's not really what the race is, though, because we're building an entire site. And when you build something with components and you build it with BEM and you build it with a scalable, maintainable workflow and a framework like automatic CSS, everything that you do, every step that you take, every piece of progress that you make makes the rest of the project faster and then easier to maintain. Whereas if you skip all of these things, every piece that you add to the website makes the website more chaotic, more problematic, harder to maintain, harder to scale. It goes in the complete opposite. So yeah, you might get to the finish line of a homepage faster, but you've made the project as a whole infinitely slower to build and maintain going forwards. And the problem just gets worse and worse and worse as every day goes by. Whereas on this kind of project, as every day goes by, the project gets easier and easier and easier to build and maintain. That is the massive benefit in the workflows.
Hell yeah.
So so as you were seeing, you can use these panels. By the way, this is like V1 alpha of these panels. They're about to get way more robust, and they're going to get like nice little cute icons and all this other stuff that is super friendly to people who would rather use a panel like this. But I do encourage people to start learning as much CSS as possible. You're going to be able to do 90% of the stuff you need to do in the panels, but there are going to be situations, as you're going to see in just a second, when we try to tie this badge programmatically, that's just stuff that's never really going to happen in a styling panel. And if you want to be able to do those things, you kind of have to know what you're doing, right? And work your way there. So, but that is the style inputs panel. And yeah, you can turn that on anytime you like. Okay, so now I've got this little badge. See the spacing is like, I don't know why it does that. It only does that in the browser too. I didn't set up any spacing, right? But like it looks really close. Like that badge spacing looks really close to the spacing I have here. And I'm just guessing, you know? And it's okay because I can change it again at any time. So that's supposed to say videos. It does. I'm not going to worry about plugging in the actual icon, but I am going to say that icon color is the website's primary color. Okay. And obviously we haven't set up the primary color, so we're seeing a big difference, but you're going to see the website come to life. And I'm going to do this as a demonstration of how these things can be configured essentially at any time. So let's go plug some content in so that we see what we need to see. And then we'll make this a component, and then we'll maybe do some colors, and then we'll talk about what we want to do next. Okay, so I've got this heading, which is a section intro heading, section intro lead. All of that is good to go. We might want to come in. I like to talk about, and you see that Nick did it here, right? This could easily be full width, like inside of this container, but he purposefully shrunk it because he wants these things to break to 2 lines because it kind of sculpts the typography, right? So we're going to do essentially the same thing. We're going to determine that this section intro heading, its max inline size should be something like 30 characters or 24 characters or whatever. And see how it sculpts it? And like it makes it more readable. Text that stretches wide across the screen is not good. It's not easy to read. It doesn't look good. And so we can use this max inline size technique with just character counts to essentially like sculpt and see exactly how we want these things to appear. And then we're going to combine this with things like text wrap balance. Okay, we can see what text wrap balance does, which perfectly balances the lines. Sometimes it's a little bit aggressive, okay? Like, because the amount of text, it's, to me, it's scaffolding it a little bit too much, or like containing it a little too much. Even if I put 60 characters, it's doing the job of balancing. So I think 60 is fine, and then we'll leave it on balance, at least for now. We can always tweak it a little bit later. And then I'm going to go gap of content gap, probably like divided by 2 to tighten this up a little bit. And I'm just going to see, did he use even spacing? It looks pretty much like he did. Dude, Figma's like changed their design so much. I don't even know where to look for this stuff. Okay, here it is. Gap contextual spacing. I can't read the whole thing. Can this expand? There we go. Okay, he's just using content gap. I'll use content gap there, then we can change the content gap value whenever we need to. Looks like he's just using a little bit tighter content gap than we are. Okay, so there's our intro component, let's say. Let's right-click, create our component. Okay, so now what we need is props for the thing. We need like the badge text, badge icon, which we'll be able to add in the future. Right now, we don't have an SVG prop, but we'll add that very soon. But we definitely need the badge text. We need the heading text, which we'll do first. There's 2 text elements. We need the lead text. There's another text element that we're going to use, and we'll just start there. So we'll say heading, we'll say lead, and then we'll say label, or let's say badge text. So we'll have badge text. Eventually, we'll have badge icon. Okay, so I want to map these. So I'm just going to click here. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click here. And now those are mapped to each other. I can save. I can exit. And now what we have is a component that is globally managed and controlled, but it can have unique content. This is a unique heading, right? And it's using what we had before as the default. So essentially, we can leave it alone. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we can talk about creating the left-aligned version of this, for example. What I would probably do here, we have a new way to do this versus how we were doing it before. I would create maybe like a select prop. and we'll say alignment. And then we can have options, right? We can have center, we can have left. The first one will essentially be the default. And then what we're going to do is we are going to add an attribute to it. We can say data intro alignment equals, and then we're going to give this a dynamic value. So it's props.alignment. It's a component prop, so we're going to reference it with props. It's called alignment, so we're going to put alignment. And all that's going to do is inject the value of this into this data attribute. We'll just first pause there and see if that works, right? So we'll go exit the component. Now we have the center left. You're not going to see it visually do anything because we haven't programmed it to. But what we should see is in the code on the front end, if I choose left, we see data alignment of left. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. There's our intro. I'm going to inspect, come down, and we see data intro alignment equals left. I'm going to bring this up because we can, if we need more real estate at any time, we can get more real estate just by growing this panel. You can also go full screen with this. The downside of this is that it is going to cover what you're doing. So because we can do nesting with CSS now, we can target this data intro alignment stuff from inside of this main section intro class. So if it has data intro alignment equals, and then we have center, something like center, we can do something. Or if it equals left instead of center, we can do something else, right? And in this case, I'm thinking to myself, like this stuff that we did to center should probably be stuck into the center, and I don't even know that we need left. So like from a code perspective, we're really only doing something if they choose center. If they don't choose center, we're kind of just leaving it alone, right? So there's what's going to happen on left alignment. And then when I choose center, it's going to go to the center. The only thing I'm seeing is that the badge right there needs a little bit of a tweak. Maybe that's not even the badge. It's probably just this component itself. So we'll make sure that this is display flex explicitly, flex direction of column explicitly, and I want to do align. Can I choose? Let's go. I can't choose which one we're previewing by default, but let's go align items to flex start. Okay, let's see if that fixes it. And there we go. So now we have a component that can be left aligned easily or center aligned. The one thing that we might want to do here is come down and see how, oh my gosh, Figma. Wow, very touchy. Okay, so I don't know, what is that? That's 646. Did he do the same thing here? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So it's pretty much, it's contained to the same exact width. So we don't have to make any other changes. That's literally how it's supposed to behave. So there's a left aligned version, and then we're going to exit our component editor, and I'm going to say center. And so now anytime you make a new section, like in fact, let's make the section that comes below it. So here's that section below. We see that section below, my favorite digital products needs a left aligned intro. Hey, what do? We just come down here. We say, hey, we need a section intro here. We're going to pull it up into its normal spot. And we're going to say, okay, this one needs to be left aligned. And now it's left aligned. And now we keep going. And that's an example of, okay, I took a little extra time to make this thing called a section intro component. I gave it a little bit of like CSS logic. But now, whenever I make a new section, I can instantly add that intro, determine whether it's left or centered, and then I'll add eventually the ability to show or hide this badge, perhaps, change the icon here. We can change the label, obviously, and I'll show you how this works from a content perspective. That needs to say my favorite digital products, so I'm going to grab that. We're going to come down to the heading, bang, my favorite digital products. Here we go. And now we're starting to almost get to the point where anybody, just anybody that comes along, you don't even need training. You can fill out some fields, right? And you're going to be able to customize these things. And then when we see that these things exist in Gutenberg, we can actually just customize them in Gutenberg and not even have to open Etch. So let's do our video badge. What is that going to say here? Tools. Okay, tools. Perfect. Save, and now go to the front end. So now I've done another section below very quickly with a completely different style intro, right? Left aligned versus center aligned.
Hey, real quick, hope you're enjoying the rebuild so far. Just wanted to take a moment to say that this would not have been possible without our series sponsor, Big Scoots. They've been providing top-tier managed hosting since 2010, and they're not your typical hosting company. Big Scoots owns their entire tech stack, from the servers to the network to the data center, which means faster load times, stronger security, and the ability to customize solutions for your specific site. And if you ever need any help, you can get connected to a real WordPress expert in under 90 seconds, 24/7. And by the way, right now is the perfect time to try Big Scoots because they were kind enough to give you, the lovely viewers of my channel, a special offer. If you're a new Big Scoots client, you can get 98% off your first 2 months on any of their managed hosting plans. All you have to do is click the link down in the description below and use promo code MJS for monthly plans or MJS annual for annual plans when you check out. Again, that's 2 months of premium hosting for pennies, which is basically no risk. If you've been looking to improve your hosting setup, show Big Scoots some love for supporting valuable content like this and give their managed hosting a try today. Now, let's get back to building.
Okay, so now let's talk maybe about colors. You guys want to do a little bit of color action?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's open Automatic CSS. First thing is I'm looking at here, and actually, in Nick fashion, we do have a little bit of a gradient thing going on here, but it looks to me like this is going to be separate from the entire website. So that's going to be an effect that probably just happens on this section alone. Looks to me like the entire website should just have this light gray background color. And I can come up here to, let me shrink this down. Let's come up here to colors. And let's just see. Okay. It doesn't really matter. So what we're going to do is we're going to go, instead of white, we're going to use base. We're going to assume that it's ultralight. We can actually change this at any time. So, it doesn't matter that much. For text, we're going to go, instead of neutral, we'll do base dark, base ultra dark, and then base light and base ultralight for our text. And then I'm going to go to the colors, and we're going to go to the palette, and then we're going to go to base, and we're essentially just going to set this as black, just like neutral was, right? So save. And now you can see on the page already, we've got like the background of our site is exactly what Nick was doing. The only difference is I'm using the word base, even though they're the same, which a lot of people are like, why would you ever do this? And it's just from a contextual standpoint, because I want to be able to, if this ever changes, I have the flexibility to change this one. I don't have the flexibility to change this one, because if it's not neutral, then the word neutral is not going to make sense. Okay, now let's change the primary color. So let's go ahead and grab that. Okay, let's just grab that and let's go over and let's pop it in. So primary, pop in that color, save. Okay, good. Now let me go to his design again, final design. Okay, so that is light instead of ultralight, most likely. So we're going to go fix that on our badge. Let's refresh this as well. Okay, boom. So remember I said I didn't care what I was doing, so I can come back and fix it at any time, and it's going to fix it everywhere. We're going to go to this badge. Instead of base ultralight, we're just going to do base light. That's going to make that work. And that looks pretty much correct. Probably... That looks like medium text. He didn't make that smaller, so good. Go ahead and exit. And now let's go to the front end and see. We've got our purple icon there, purple icon here. If we were using a button anywhere, we would have a purple button by default. Let's try to make this little accent highlight. We can start to, these are like little pieces that you're going to find yourself using as we build the site. So the more pieces you build now, the better off you're going to be later. So we're going to go into this heading, and we need this word, entrepreneurs. The best way I've found to do this is Command X, span, paste, right? So instead of, there's really no way to wrap it. So you can just cut it, essentially, put the span tag in, and then paste it. And then we're going to give it a class. And by the way, now that it's in there, you can actually see it in the structure panel. You can target it in the structure panel. So do you want to call it highlight? Do you want to call it, maybe badge is not going to be the best because we already have a badge style down here.
Yeah, I think I like highlight.
You okay with highlight? Okay. Text, highlight, fail to render element, execute set attribute element. These spans sometimes, Gutenberg doesn't like these things, but we'll see if we can. All right, let's call it maybe text highlight. I don't highlight by itself. That feels a little generic there. Like maybe text highlight.
That works. We could always change it.
Okay. So now, and this is an example of, because that turns itself into like a selectable element, if you were using the style inputs, this is still something you would be able to do with the style inputs, you know? So you're still, even though I did something in code to like produce this span element, like I'm not forced to write the CSS for it still. So we still have that panel open to us. Let's go style inputs. All right. So we're going to just make this primary. And you can see the value of these tokens in the sense that like, I don't ever have to know what the actual color values are. I'm just plugging in like code names, like, you know, placeholders. So this is going to be white, and we're going to go padding of, this is top 0.25 em and then 0.5 em left and right. When we do something like this, you probably want to actually, maybe just change the display might help, of inline flex, or just inline. No, that definitely don't want to do that. Okay. Span actually by itself should be inline by default. 0.15, 0.05. We're gonna have to figure out this is a typography issue, and it's actually going to change when we change to the regular font you guys are supposed to be using, but it's how the, I don't even know what they call it. It's like the literal text box around the letters is rendered in a paragraph like this. So might need some adjustments later, but it's something, it's absolutely fixable. And it's tied to a class, so it can be fixed everywhere at once. Let's go radius. Perfect. Okay. All right. So he's got that. I've got that. He capitalized it. Maybe we should do the same. Text, transform, capitalize. Perfect. Boom. So we just add there's another little piece. Now, anytime we have a heading, like an H1, H2, whatever, or even really, probably, it would work down here in normal text. Anytime you need to highlight a word, you have this class, text highlight, bang, pop it on there, and it's going to work, right? So another piece of the puzzle down. Makes the site easier to build. Let's pause here. We got kind of a important thing done there. Got an important intro component made down here. How are we feeling? Do we want to go in any other directions yet? What do we want to do?
I'm curious how to tackle that line that connects to the.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So let's problem solve this. Let's think about it. So we've got a section here, semantic section tag. It's going to come after this main hero. So we're going to identify the main hero. We are going to see if we can target the thing that comes after it, the section that comes after it. And I'm probably going to want to do this from the main hero, I would think. Anytime I use the main hero, it would make sense that that's when this thing happens, right? So I can do an ampersand, which should technically be a reference to the main hero class. And then plus section, which should, let's go background red, give me the ability to see, I'm styling, this is crazy because I'm styling the section below this hero from the hero, right? Which is pretty cool. Because like I can now control something else from inside of this thing right here, which is very nice. So now I'm selecting the section, but I don't want to select the section, right? I want to select the whatever that badge is. So this is I'm going to save our progress there. I'm going to right click, edit component, section intro, and that is the accent badge. And I'm wondering, do we want this to be in the intro? We could actually even say when the intro is centered and we're going to find the accent badge. We could even go to that degree if we wanted to. Maybe. I don't know. Let's get it working first. Okay. So we're going to be looking for, let's look for the accent badge first. So we'll find the accent badge. So we're going to go back up here. Section, accent badge. Look at that. This is why, by the way, I do this background red thing or like border 5-pixel solid red. The minute you change the selector, you can see exactly what it's selecting. Like there's no guesswork. I've watched people literally try to build a feature for 30 minutes and they don't even realize they're not even selecting the thing they thought they're like, why doesn't it work? They don't even realize they're not even selecting the thing they were selecting. So if you put something super obvious on it, you see how instantly I could get visual confirmation that I am now selecting the thing I wanted to select. Okay, so and section has an accent badge. We're going to add a before pseudo element to it. And we're going to create our content. Okay, going to add it there. We are going to position it absolute. Now we might run into a brick wall. Like this is, you have to go down a path to see where the path ends up. You can't always predict ahead of time where you're going to end up. So what I do know is I need like maybe a height of 200 pixels here. I need a width of 5 pixels. I need something super obvious. I can go background red again. There's a line. Okay, great. We got to a starting point there. We're going to inset inline start of 50%, which is going to pseudo put us in the middle. Inset block start of 0. These are things, by the way, that you can't really do with styling panels. Like styling panels would be completely useless here. Okay, so that flew off the screen. It flew way up here, which means it's not contained, which means this section right here, we need to say you are position relative in this scenario. So if you are adjacent to a main hero, you need to be position relative. And then we're going to target this thing inside of it, and we're going to create this little pseudo element line, which is going to end up connecting, which is going to be fantastic. Block start 0 actually puts it at the top of this section, which is like, that's already the work that I need done. It's fantastic. The height. That height needs to be based on something we know. We can't guess. You can't just throw magic numbers around here. We got to know what we're doing. So I would say that this section reference, this padding, should be controlled by the hero almost, which is going to create a little bit of a limitation. But if I do padding block start, let's say I did 0, right? I'm able to zero out that spacing, but I could ensure that it's section space M. I could also say, actually, this would give me a token I can work with, maybe. Section padding generic. Let's just do section padding. Section padding. Let's give it a fallback of section space M. Okay, and then all I'm going to check on is, let's say I came to this section now. What is this topic? Videos? Is this a videos section? Let's come down here. Yes. Is this latest videos? That's what we're doing here? Latest videos?
Pretty much.
Okay.
To a degree.
We'll just do videos section. Okay. And I'm going to give it a class of videos section. Okay. Perfect. Just like that. And now let's see. I don't know if this is going to, it is going to work. It is going to work. Section space XL. Look at this. Now I can control this from here. Okay. So now if that line height is literally equal to section padding, they will always match and it will never break. That's the object here. Okay. So what we're doing is, let's come down here. Instead of, I used a magic number. I replaced the magic number with something called look at this. Look at this. Okay. So now on the video section, if I do need to change it, I'm going to go to L. Look at this. Look at this. It's just going to grow. It's going to magically follow whatever happens there. Okay. So now I'm going to go in here. So now I'm going to come down and we're going to go width of 1 pixel. Okay, which, by the way, should be like another token, like where one is a magic number. Like, what if borders ever change what if they go to 1.5 pixels? Like, we're going to leave this one behind. We don't want to create these little orphan scenarios, You got to save the orphans. Border, so width is border width, right? See that? Ooh. Now, if you change, because in automatic CSS, you have a border system, right? So you go to borders. What if you did change it 1.5, right? 1.5 pixels, make it a little tiny bit thicker. Anywhere I've used borders, see that right there? It just thickened up just a little bit. And then this line that I just created, I'm going to go ahead and save this progress, should thicken up as well, because they're all referencing the same thing. And this is why I say you can program these tokens at any time. Okay. You just have to use them in the right places, in the right ways, and then you have a situation you can do whatever you want with later. Okay, so we're going to come down. Border width, background is, how about border color dark, right? And then what did we use on this pseudo element? Background, border. We just use border, which is also using border color dark. I mean, we could just be done here, guys. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this. What are we?
Makes it look too easy.
Oh my gosh. Now you're like, hey, Kevin, I want, back to normal padding in there. Hey, no worries. No worries. There we go. Space M, tighten up, line fixes itself. Everything recalculates. We have an unbreakable scenario. I love it. Okay. So that was nice. We could try to add if it's centered, right? So maybe we pop in a little bit of extra, because if this is left aligned, I mean, let's be honest here. People are going to bring this up, right? Okay. You left align this, we got a bit of a problem. That's a bit of a problem. Would you agree?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this is entirely related, but if you look at the mobile responsive Figma, he does have it where it's to the left, and he threw the line in there. If you just scroll to your right on that file, and then scroll up, see how he had that. So like, I know it's like a either container query or a breakpoint situation, but but I mean, you bring up a good point. Like, even if it's on desktop and you want to move it to the left, like, I don't know.
Well, the good news is, let's go back and review how we did this. So section accent badge before. I mean, it is positioned relative. It's this inset block start. It should theoretically travel with the badge. We can get it to travel with the badge. Should be able to get it to travel with the badge. Let's think about that for a second. It's probably easier to think about on the front end. Let's inspect this. Okay, so there's our accent badge. See, the before pseudo element travels. The problem is it's positioned relative to the section and not relative to the badge. And that is, all right, so let's do this change right here. Accent badge. Let's go where that's inside of our intro. So let's go to this accent badge and put the position. Now this might break the line for a minute. It does, right? But now what we've done is we've created a scenario where this should travel with the badge. Right? So that's a good start. So now we just need to fix how that's positioned. Position relative, padding block start, inset, inline start, inset, block start, 0, inset block start 100%. We'll go to the bottom, negative 100%, 0. Oh, no, inset block end 100%. Bang. All right, hang on.
Wow.
Check it. So now,
Crazy.
we're going to go section intro. Okay. Let me save this and refresh here. Now we change it to the left. It should go. But the other thing I saw Nick do there is he got rid of this one on mobile. So see how that moves? There is going to be the problem of he's got that little card in here, and it may have to connect to the card at that point. There's going to be some more engineering to figure out. But what we did accomplish is a scenario where that stays connected. I mean, if even that by itself, you know what I'm saying? Like that's, at least it's not breaking. We're not going left and leaving a little stem behind, that looks a little awkward.
Yeah.
So
looks good.
And we can, as you do more design details, you continue building this out, because once again, it's a component, which means at any point, we could literally wait until the end of the project and then do it. It doesn't have to be figured out now. What we got now is something that is workable. Okay. So I am going to focus on making and these are video. Well, hold on. These are latest videos. So are you going to have a video custom post type? Is that how we're going to work this?
Yeah, we already have all that. Yeah, we'll do videos.
You already have a video custom post type.
I'll put it right in there.
Yeah, put those 3 test ones in videos. So I'm going to add a container here, and this is going to be called videos. We'll call it video. I like video list now. So video list. And we're going to do a flex div, which is going to be we could call this media card, or is there a blog post card that he designed somewhere? Does it look exactly the same? I assume it does.
Yeah, we're not really doing a blog tab. At least
Okay.
we didn't talk about it. So I think this is effectively the blog.
Got it. Okay. Let's call it a media card. Let's see what we need in it. So content wrapper, media wrapper, very similar to the other one that we did. So flex div, going to be content wrapper, media wrapper. We're going to put that media in there, which is essentially just a thumbnail. We're going to make that a figure tag. Inside of our content wrapper, we're probably going to have the heading and text. All right, so heading and text. This is going to be the description. This can be the title. We're going to make that an H3. And I'm pretty good. Like, I think that's it. We do have some badges for the categories. We don't have to do them quite yet necessarily. I mean, we can throw them in. It looks like they're contained inside the content wrapper. They're just going to be their own little list scenario. So what we'll do is inside the content wrapper, we'll throw in a flex div. We'll call this cat list. I try not to abbreviate as much as possible. By the way, if you need more real estate, you can always get more real estate here. So category list, there's no icons in these, so that makes them pretty easy. We can just throw in a flex div and call this category badge. So we have a category list and a category badge. And if we just convert these to a list, it'll make them lists. And then we can throw in text here. So this will be the label. And good. Perfect. Okay. Category list, description, media card, add content wrapper, title, description, category list, has a category badge, has a media wrapper, has media. I think I'm happy with that. Right click, create BEM. Okay, fantastic. Let's go ahead and duplicate that. Actually, let's right click here, convert this to a list. Duplicate the list item a couple times. Now go to video list and let's go to display of grid template columns of grid auto 3. Okay, got our 3-column auto responsive grid. Let's take our media wrapper and move it to the top. That's fantastic. Okay, our card framework is probably what we want in play here. So I'm going to take media card and we're going to go tell automatic CSS, hey, we want to target that with the card framework. So I'm going to do comma media card. We're going to pop that in, save. All right. Fantastic. Let's refresh. Boom. We're starting to look like some cards here. I'll refresh the builder as well. Okay. Let's come down. I'm just going to pop in a little placeholder right here. Good. All right. This is a sample video title.
You should be able to use that, yeah, when you get there.
This is a sample video description. It's probably going to be 2 lines, something like that. Okay. I'm also looking at, and I noticed Nick did not shrink the text on cards, right? So a lot of times people do, sometimes you don't. This is set up, the card framework, to where our typography is text S. I'm going to just bump it to text M, and that's going to fix all of our cards. So none of our cards are going to use small text. They're all going to use large or medium text now, regular text, and we're good to go. While I'm in there, I'm also going to check on our spacing. So space M is, that's card padding, card content gap. Yeah. Content gap divided by 2. What are we using for our content gap? So contextual spacing, content gap there, standard spacing. Maybe he went just less on standard spacing in general. We'll go 20 there. Desktop ratio, maybe like 1.33, something like that. Okay, some bit fine tuning a little bit here as we go. Okay, fantastic. All right. Save, refresh. Oh yeah. Okay, starting to get much better there. Let's refresh the builder. Looking good, looking good. Okay. Still some adjustments we'll need to make, but that's okay. Label. Did you guys talk about the colors of these? Are they random? Do they have some sort of meaning to them?
I think the first question we would need to answer is if we currently don't have a taxonomy for video categories, but we have like tool categories and we have a bunch of other taxonomies. So I don't know, and this is a Christian question, I don't know if they would be the same. Like, do you think the tool categories could overlap with the video categories? Or like, I don't even know, what do you think you would replace those categories with? Like actual?
No, they definitely be different. I'm thinking like comparison, tutorial, review. So maybe I don't know. It's like there's two categories there. One could be the tool category, hosting, website builder. But
Well,
then I would also want one that would say, like, what is it? Is it a comparison? Is it a review?
That's a good point. I don't know if that's how you would do it though. Like I think typically that there's two things there because they could be multiple categories.
Oh, okay.
In the same taxonomy. But in the way that you have that you're explaining that, yeah, you probably wouldn't ever really have two categories. I see what you're saying though. It's kind of like there would be one, think of it if it was like one section would be like the video category, another section would be the like the tools that are in that video. But I don't know if we need to go super deep into that right now. We could talk about that and kind of think about it. But we're probably going to need a video taxonomy, and it would have like, again, comparison types of videos, comparisons, reviews, tutorials, etc. And that's what we could put in there. And each one of them would in that case would probably only have one category. So as far as the color of them, not exactly sure. How would you go about different category? Would you put a meta field for each taxonomy and set the color and then automatically do it like that?
Yeah. So what you would do is you would inject the category into a data attribute. So it would be like data category, data video category maybe, and then you would inject it, right? Item dot whatever, and then every color or every category you would then in CSS using that attribute targeting, you would set a color for.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we don't have the color thing set up right now, but
that's doable at any time. Yeah, anytime.
I mean, if you have, let me see where you're at here. If you have, so is that's default data in there? Are you looping yet? Or no,
this right now is not looping yet. So it's just static. Let's do a gap of 0.5 m. There we go. So here's an example with two labels. We'll look at this on the front end. Boom, boom. Okay. So there's a possibility.
Yeah, you can nest that.
Now we can loop it. Well, what I was trying to figure out is here's our list item. So list items are display list item by default, which means this card can't expand inside of it using flex. So we have to change these list items to flex. We could do this on the video list and just say, hey, our LIs are going to be display flex, by the way. Okay, and now those cards will grow. We also want this wrapper to be able to grow. And then we want to figure out how we want to handle like differences in content lengths. Like usually, let's say, what is this? Justify, like justify content. No, justify self. End, align self. That's the other axis. Or we can say margin block start of auto, pop that to the bottom. So what I would think is all descriptions should be long enough so that they're never one line, but we're also going to cap them probably at maybe 3 lines or 2 lines or something like that. So different ways to do that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I think we're ready to just see if we can maybe loop something. So you got them in there ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So all we need when we're going to loop is 1. This is an auto grid, so it's going to fill itself, which is kind of nice. And especially when we have container queries to change how this card displays itself. That'll be even nicer. But let's go ahead and wrap this list item in a loop. Okay. We're going to go immediately to the loop manager, and we are going to create ourselves a new loop. This is going to be called videos, yeah? That's what we're doing here?
Yep.
What's our post type key?
Just video, I think. Or is it videos? I think it's videos. Actually. Yeah, it's videos.
Cool. All right, we got the nice little preview over here so we can figure out what's going on. We're going to replace this with a count. We want to be able to choose our own count when we do this query. Let's just save that there. So we've got videos, and we've got the ability to declare a count. Okay. So we are looping through our videos. Perfect. And when we do this loop videos as item, we can come in here and say the count is going to be -1, and that's going to give us all of them. But in this case, we just want the latest 3, right? So we're just going to say 3. And let's go check this out on the front end. Bang, bang, bang. Now, what we want to do is, we haven't made this a component yet, but we don't have to. Like we could do dynamic data first. We could do component first. It's however you want. I will probably suggest going component first. Okay, so we make this a component. And then we need to figure out what we need. And I'm just going to we're not going to worry about these categories yet. We'll probably come back next time for these.
I set it up, so we could get there if you want.
Okay, so 1, 2, for sure, we need the media. This is going to be an image, okay? So this is going to be the title. This is going to be the description. It's going to be the featured media, we'll call it, something like that. Okay, let's grab the description here. Let's grab the title here, save. We're going to do item dot featured image.
Yeah.
Did you make the image the same?
Yeah,
okay,
I just set them all.
Good,
We didn't have any other ones.
All right. As long as it's working. Items.
That's
item
that's short underscore description.
And that's
a jet
meta
engine. Yeah, meta. And it is all the same shit, so that's not a great example, but it's working.
Okay. Idle.
Mark, you had one job.
What's this called? What's the item.meta. What?
I think it's just title. Right? Because it's just, but it's is it just item title?
It's just title. It's just title.
Yeah.
That's all default WordPress. I mean,
okay. At least the title's different. I thought you did the same thing for everything.
All right. Okay. So, we could talk about limiting this text. So eventually what we're going to be able to do, probably not far off from here, is you're going to be able to go to title, and you're going to be able to use a function like trim. So it's going to be like .trim, and then you're going to trim it to a certain amount of characters, right? Or you would do this with the description, not the title. But you can also do it with CSS as well. So I don't know if it's turned on, but like something like line count 2. Let's try. Okay, save. It's like there you go. Well, let's see. We're not seeing the right thing, I don't think. Okay. Oh, sorry. I always do line count. It's line clamp. Okay. Let's go to the description, and we'll just change this to line clamp 2. Save. See if that works. Shazam.
Nice.
So like you never risk a card accidentally having like 70 lines of content, It's always a good thing. It is clamping it in kind of a weird spot for that particular content. Let's change that to 3. Save. All right. Can you go change a featured image, Mark? Just one of them? Just
sure.
We can just maybe see a difference in how that works from the back end.
Yeah.
I'm also going to look at these. So these cards don't have a border. Those cards don't have a border. So what we're going to do is in automatic CSS card framework. So this is a shared style, right? Do our cards have a border or not have a border? We're going to say 0. They do not have a border. And we're going to see that border immediately disappear, not just from these cards, but from all the cards that are being targeted by the card framework. And then we're going to say, light or dark. These are light cards. Do they have a shadow? Okay. What if they have a shadow? We can do box shadow M. Actually, that's medium now. I'll change that in just a second. Oh, we got to do that nice little subtle purple gradient that he was worried about. Yeah. All right. See that shadow right there on that card? And then we don't have a shadow on this card. So I am going to make it a shared style, and then it can just be removed from any cards that end up not needing it. But see how that's got a shadow now? That's got a shadow. We'll make these flat. So let's go in, and this is all tokenized. And of course, nobody really remembers all the tokens, and you don't really have a need to. It's because you can always inspect. So it's called card shadow. So if we go to card shadow none, we should be good. Okay, that's that. So on these cards, media card, I'm going to edit component, media card, card shadow, none, save. So only the media cards will no longer have a card shadow. And I think there's a specificity issue going on here, but that could be fixed later. Card shadow, light card shadow. Okay. Oh, it probably can't reach into it. Let's try light card shadow. Light card shadow, none. See if that fixes our, there we go. So cards are going to have a shadow by default, but if they need to be removed for any reason, we can easily remove them, as we can see here. And look at that. We've already got, he swapped the photos. So we're seeing new photos dynamically. I mean, one thing I would do is very important on cards is the media. We've got to force the aspect ratio. And this is just a protection. Like if I upload a square image, it's going to make like one card's going to be square and the rest are not going to be. So we want to decide, or we could just look here. Those look like 16 by 9. It's a media card, so I think 16 by 9 works. Let's object fit cover it. And let's exit.
Yeah, they'll all be 16 by 9. I don't think those ones that were uploaded weren't. Those were like those were vertical. So
okay.
Yeah.
The other thing would be, these are very Christian heavy, right? So his face is going to be in a lot of them. Typically, the faces are toward the top third of an image, right? So when we're doing this object fit, we can come in and say object position. And we can say 50% and then like something like 20%. And we can ensure that like he's always probably going to be okay. 20.
I think these would be, I mean, in this exact scenario, they're literally 16 by 9 images that are being uploaded because they're video thumbnails.
Yeah.
But I guess that's not a bad idea if this card is used somewhere else in a different context and it's not a perfect 16 by 9 image.
Yeah, it's mainly a let's say you hire somebody and you're like, hey, you're in charge now of uploading featured images. Well, let's say in the workflow you're like, hey, if step 1 you got to crop it to 16 by 9. Let's just say they do that every single time. That's already inefficient because like CSS can handle cropping. So we're asking somebody to do something they don't necessarily need to do. Plus, if you need that photo in any other use case that's not 16 by 9, you have now uploaded a static 16 by 9 version, right? So it's just safer to use CSS to do it. The card framework should also be able to do it. Let's go to media because you can control media. See, it says aspect 443. Let's go 16. Look at this. All of your cards can be by default 16 by 9. We are going to still need our object position on there. Bam. Okay. I mean, Okay. So, what else? Oh, yeah. We want to do that little purple thing. All right. So it's right there. Do you know if that's used anywhere else, Mark? Have you noticed that little purple shadow?
I don't.
Or is it just in these cards?
I don't think so.
I haven't seen it anywhere else.
Because I'm thinking, subtle. We have the ability to add so you can go to additional styling box shadows. We can have like a medium, a large, or an extra large. But you can also change this to like, primary or primary subtle. Or like you can create your own kind of reusable box shadow, let's say, throughout the website. And I'm thinking, if we're not going to use these, maybe we should go that route. So let's see if Figma will let us steal it. So it's 11. What are they doing with these coordinates here? 0511 0. Is that what it's supposed to be? 0511 0. And then this color right here, which is the primary at 3%. So 0511 0. 0511 0. 0511 0. Color mix. var primary 3% transparent, primary subtle. See if this works. Okay. So what we should be able to do now, and actually I'm going to make this 30%. I want to make it very, very obvious whether it's working or not, so we know right away when we try to apply it. Okay, let's refresh here. If we had automatic CSS not having this race condition where it's not loading in the builder, normally it loads in Etch, and if you make these changes in Etch, you won't have to refresh the builder like I'm doing over and over again, but something with our server setup. Okay. So let's go into our media card. Let's go to our article, content, media, wrapper, media. There we go. Let's put it here. Box shadow. Shadow. Okay. And we called it
primary subtle.
Okay. I think that would be the name of it because this is, or maybe it's box shadow. It's probably box shadow.
Look at that.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So all we're going to do now from ACSS, because we made like a reusable box shadow here. Instead of 30%, we need 3%. Let's save that. And I think that, what's happened here? Oh, you know what? Probably, no, there we go. Okay, snap back into action. Let's go down, additional styling, box shadows. I don't believe that, that I think Figma's like lying to us a little bit. I feel like that's, because when I match it, I can't see it. Let's do
interesting.
10%. I can see it now, but I also feel like it's not as big as Figma's is a little bit larger.
It's almost like a gradient.
Okay, let's go.
Is there 2 drop shadows on that though? In Figma?
Is there?
Why is there 2?
Oh, you're right.
Effects?
Oh, did he do a layered drop shadow? Yeah, he's got a 0, 21, 21, 0 at the same percentage. Okay, 0, 21, 21, 0. So essentially we're going to steal this. Okay.
I've never done a layered.
That's 0, 21, 21, 0. We'll make them both 10 right now. I just want to see if that gives us. Okay, I think you nailed it, Mark. I think you noticed the little discrepancy there. Maybe we'll go 4 instead of 3. Yeah, essentially you can put a comma and just put as many layers as you want to. It's just the same thing over and over again, comma separated.
Interesting how the
so now anytime you need that effect again to happen, it's very subtle. It's very subtle. But whenever you need it, it's there. It's just called box shadow primary subtle.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, we've got the makings of a homepage here. We've solved some interesting problems. We have the start of some card components. We've got a highlight effect. We've got a box shadow, subtle box shadow effect. Got a loop going on. Got some dynamic data. This is where I would probably say, hey, let's call it here. Come back, do another pass. And it just keeps making progress. And like I said earlier, the more progress you make, it exponentially makes the rest of it easier and easier as you go.
Hell yeah. I think this is fantastic. Yeah. I know I learned a lot here, especially the pseudo-element stuff. That is not my strong suit. So yeah, appreciate it, Kevin.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Let me go up into, I want to just my OCD here. Yeah. Max inline size. Let's just tone this down a little bit and get this instead of using a gap, we'll just do that, and then it'll put a little more balance in there. And then let me go to his hero. I don't know that that's a 50-50 split. I mean, it might be. It's just a gigantic gap in there. Max inline size.
I almost feel like the gap is bigger because like the middle seems like it's in the middle of the next section. Like it looks like the card on the right has a little bit more gap to it.
Yeah. So what we'll do here is we'll just say, and this is probably just fine to use a media query for. So we'll just pop in a media query and we'll say width is greater than, and we'll choose some random value because it doesn't really matter. And we'll do a gap of space XXL, something like that. Media width greater than rem 800 pixels. This is our new rem function. I'm wondering if it's need to be on the inner. That's where we need to be. There we go. Okay. Space XXL. We can even save. Let's go view on the front end. That's kind of narrowing it up. It's this 1280. We did change it to 1280, but did it change it? Yeah, 1280. Okay. I mean, do you feel like it's hard to tell in Figma when you're zooming around, but like, You see how our website feels wider than that's
Yeah.
Figma. And then it's our site. And it feels like it's wider, but I've used the same dimensions, so I wouldn't know why. I mean, all we can do is match the dimensions. Yeah, I'll have to look at it more later and see what else we might be able to adjust. But the other thing we can do temporarily is instead of a 2-column grid, we go with like a 3-2, something like that, or we make a custom. You know, there's a bunch of different ways to handle it, but I think we've made enough progress for right now. I would go, last thing we can do real quick, because doesn't take too long. We'll just throw in a header. We'll throw in a footer. All right, section. We're going to go header. We're going to go footer. We're not going to worry about navs and all that stuff right now, but we're just going to take care of the general architecture.
Yeah, I want to see how you handle that thing too. You're just going to see how big your header is, and then you're going to go back and put that number in your header height?
Yeah,
that's all you have to
it's
do.
Pretty much going to be, if you look at this, it's either going to be controlled by this logo, how high, or this button. Whatever the biggest element is, because the padding is going to be the padding, and then whatever the biggest element is might force it to be a little bit bigger. But at that point, once you've got those two elements in, you've got your header height. So you have the logo already uploaded?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Can we use an SVG?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how that works in WordPress. Can I upload that to the... Oh, yeah. I just uploaded the SVG to the media library.
Bang. I already got it.
Is that a new WordPress capability? I thought it used to blow up when you would upload SVG.
It does, but see, you're using Etch, and what Etch does is it says, if you're an admin, you should be allowed to upload an SVG without a plugin or anything like that. So Etch allows you to bypass. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Etch knows you're going to need to do that out of the gate, and it allows you to do that.
That makes me really happy.
Yeah. I don't know why this has a layer 2 here. We're going to go. So better than width on these, in these case scenarios, height is the better thing to do. That's block size. And we'll do something like 80, 60. We can actually just measure it. 39. I mean, if you round to 40, it's not going to kill anybody. I don't know. 39's a little, I don't know. Okay, we'll throw a button in there.
Sleep.
Yeah.
It's got to be perfect.
Yeah. Button primary. Okay. And so this is going to be the inner. Header inner. And this is our header. This is just going to be a display of flex direction of row, align items to the center, justify content space between. Boom. Okay. Now what we need is in our header, padding block, probably space S. We can go check. Oh, of course, space M. All right. Space M, and then padding inline of gutter. That I don't have to check. That's always going to be gutter. And now we have our header. Let's create a component. We don't need any props yet. We'll just say, hey, it's okay. It's going to be a component. Now we're going to come down to our footer. And in our design, all I want really is the shell of the footer. We're going to be base ultra dark with this. Oh, this is an interesting thing. Okay, like...
Yeah, I don't think that top part's part of the footer.
Do you want it to be as the question? Is this planned to show up on this? Probably not planned to show up on every page, right? It's just a homepage thing?
Yeah.
I mean,
not at least. We could, but we definitely would need to make that text. That text is almost like.
Yeah, you would end up. Yeah, it's more global.
Dynamic.
Yeah, but it's also more global. Like the stats, they're Yeah. I would say this is probably going to be just a pattern it's a component in itself, and you can just inject it on whatever page you need to inject it on, and then these will be props for the component to fill it in.
Yeah.
We don't need to make it part of the template. Okay, so let's go with our footer. We're going to give it a class of footer. Padding block is going to be section space M. Padding inline is going to be gutter. Background is going to be probably probably BG Ultra Dark. I'll explain this in just a minute. This is like, instead of doing base or primary or whatever, we're just doing a contextual color, like whatever our typical ultra dark background is. And actually, if we do that as a class, since this is a template, BG Ultra Dark, it'll also take care of the foreground automatically. So when you add foreground, it'll automatically be light. Those are the color relationships in ACSS. Okay. We don't actually need any content. I do maybe want to do this copyright row down here so we can show off a little bit of that. We'll just duplicate this container and then we'll say meta. And then inside of the meta, we're gonna have the whole logo. I call this like a legal nav situation. Well, why don't we just do that? Why don't we just do it? Let's go add an SVG again. This is an interesting thing. I mean, we could make that logo its own like little component. Might be a little bit of overkill for right now, but it is possible. Okay, logo, and this is logo, but it's small, right? So let's do logo small, and then let's do block size. I'm just gonna guess. Let's say 20 pixels. Let's grab this. Let's grab his logo file. We need the light one. Thank you. Okay. And then in our meta, we're going to go with what we can do. Here's our SVG. So we're going to need a nav that has a UL that has an LI times 5, at least for right now. And then we're going to say that this is a nav item. Count them. We can actually put classes on them. Nav dot, okay, so footer nav. And then footer nav list. And then this is footer nav item. That's going to be fantastic times 5. We need a don't we? LIA. A. Okay. Href equals pound nav item expand.
Is that emit what you were doing right there?
Yeah, that's the emit. So now, and that's all automatically labeled in the structure panel because I gave them BIM classes. So we automatically use BIM for structure panel naming. So now what we're going to do is display of flex direction of row. This actually needs to be on the UL. Okay, let's grab that. Bang. Okay. We're going to gap it 0.5 m, 0.75 m. That seems good. List item. Let's go. List item. We'll just do the A here. Color of white, at least for now. Fantastic. Okay. This meta row, footer, meta, display of flex direction of row, gap of content gap, align items, center, justify content of space between, bam. Okay. We have a nav, the list, and items. We have a logo, and now we need our copyright. Let's go add text, and this is going to be our copyright. Footer, meta, copyright. Okay. What's that need to say? Copyright 2025 Craylor. Okay, so let's try to do this dynamically. Copyright. Site dot date. I might have to look at my docs. Dot format. Site dot. I know it's not date. It's like current date. I think it's current date. Current date. There we go. Dot format. Year. Okay. Site dot name. Okay. Okay. Does that get us what we want? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's the name right now. Yeah, that works.
Good. I don't know. Why do we have that in there? We don't need that. Okay. Save. Okay. Can you go in and maybe
I got it.
change it for us? Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this. It's coming together.
I'm a lot
Should be
less
good.
nervous now. I was sweating looking at the Figma file.
Well, you're gonna have to build next because we're not gonna have Kevin every time. So you should get nervous.
I know. Yeah.
Just kidding.
No. We'll be. I'll come back for you. I'll come back for you. Oh, look at this. Look at this. The guy in the back end. We got a good back end guy right here.
Big back end guy. Yeah. Straight back end for me.
All right. Oh, look, it just behaves all on its own. I mean, this automatic CSI, I didn't have to tell it to do this. It's just doing it.
Look at that.
Yeah, this is, guys, I mean.
It's coming along.
It's coming along. Coming along. Fully custom. It's coming along.
Hell yeah.
I think we should put it in the books, and then we should, I can go back for, round 2 and whatever we need to do.
Oh yeah. Appreciate you. Yeah, we covered a lot here. I mean, I think, again, main takeaways is that I guess some of the stuff, when you break it down like this, it's a little easier. I mean, obviously it takes time to know what to do, and Kevin is a true CSS professional. So, but I mean, just watching that, Kevin makes it look easy, but it does make a lot of sense. Some pseudo-element stuff here and there. And ACSS obviously makes it super straightforward with a lot of the things. I haven't taken enough time to look at the card framework, but I'm definitely going to use that every single time now, because that seems like that incredibly speeds that up. Does a lot of cool stuff there. And then also all of the variables that you can set, not just the ones that are there, but that whole little thing you did with the box shadow, where you kind of just co-opted a variable, right? Like you guys kind of have like a few that you could just use however you want, but then you were just able to use one of them as like a custom. So that's cool. Yeah. Sweet. This is exciting.
Cool.
Yeah, Kevin, appreciate you. If you guys are watching and you don't already have Etch, all the links and everything like that will be down below. And go subscribe to Kevin's channel, because him and the Etch channel, because there's a ton of stuff on there about this, way more in depth. And as of recording this isn't going to be out for a while, but is Etch going to be launched here pretty soon, like 1.0, or what do we think?
Should be toward the end of September. Should be 1.0. I mean, it's essentially what 1.0 does is we start protecting backward compatibility. So it's not about a specific number of features or types of features or anything else. I mean, it's what we promised for September, actually. So a year ago, we said by next September you'll be able to build static sites with Etch. And we're well beyond that promise, where we've got loops and conditional logic and dynamic data and on and on and on and on and on, right? So, it's 1.0 at this point is just, all right, guys, we're going to start protecting backward compatibility. If we do something that's going to break something, we'll build a pathway around that breakage.
Gotcha. Cool. Awesome. Well, by the time you're watching this, it will most likely be at 1.0. But regardless, you should jump in, because you can see what it can do at, what are we at here? This is 3.33
or 0.30. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. What are we at? 0.38. 0.38.
All right. So it's well.
0.39 dropping tomorrow, actually. 0.39 tomorrow. This is every week. You get something new. You get gifts every week.
Killing the game. Awesome. Well, we're excited, man. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for helping us out here. It's looking great. Excited to continue.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. See you.
Thank you.